Mike, alcoholic. I've heard people talk about what different words mean. I was in a meeting one time and somebody was talking about how the difference between defects and shortcomings and this and that, and it was kind of funny because it wasn't based in any kind of book stuff at all. Actually, the wrongs, defects, and shortcomings are all the same four things: fear, self, or self-seeking, and dishonesty. But you got to kind of study AA history to find that out, why he worded it that way. And this spiritual awakening stuff is the same way. You know, I've heard people talk about it, and it can confuse newcomers. Which one do I have first? How do I know when I've had one? Is one better than the other, or is one before the other, or vice versa? And the simple, easy answer to that, and I was really glad to know that because I wondered myself, because I heard these words used at different times, is when the original 12th step was written, and you could check this out, this is true, and this explains everything. It said, having had a spiritual experience as the result of this course of action, we tried to carry this message to others, especially alcoholics, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And through a couple of gyrations, they changed it to spiritual awakening and got rid of the word others. But the whole focus of the whole thing is it shows me that this way of life has its benefits for all. Even our book says that. And when it talks about others, it's talking about I can be a representation of what these steps stand for, even to people that's not in the program. I carry the message that God can do for me what I can't do for myself, even to those that aren't in the rooms. That's what that original 12th step said. So, in actuality and truth, there is no difference between a spiritual experience and spiritual awakening, because they're the same thing. Because the person that wrote it said they were the same thing. But I like the definition of the spiritual awakening in the 12 and 12, because it really encapsulates the truth of what it does for me. Tangible evidence of what it does for me in my life, because it talks about in the first paragraph of the 12th step, it says, the definition is, I'm able to do, feel, and believe that which I could not do on my own strength unaided. I'm able to do, feel, and believe that which I could not do on my own strength unaided. You know, so that goes along with what she read off page 50, because it talks about, and I'm one of those people on that page, I'm declaring that God, with my willingness, has been able to accomplish in my life what I could not do before. And they call it a sense of this power flows into them as long as they follow a few simple rules and maintain a certain simple attitude. And that's the simplicity of this program. As long as I maintain a certain simple attitude that I can't do this by myself, and I'm going to let God assist me, and I let Him assist me through the actions I allow Him to lead me to take. When I get that pause between impulse and action, I always knew the right thing to do. I just didn't listen to that little voice. Mike, breaking in that house in 1984, there was a voice inside my head that said, that's not a good idea. I did not listen to that voice. I listened to the other voice. And what this whole program is about is giving that voice that was always there. Even in our book talks about it. Deep down within every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. This is the fundamental idea of right and wrong that was always there. And everybody in here's got it, unless you used to bury cats up to their head and run over them with a lawnmower. Okay? Those people have no conscience and never had one. But most folks don't fall into that category. Microwaves are meant for food, not small animals. I mean, I've heard stories. See, so I know that I've always had that voice. I know everybody doesn't have it, but I know I have it. And that's why I know that the book is talking to me. I've always had it. It's always been inside me, and I always went the other way, because sometimes living by these principles is not the easier path. Sometimes you got to stand up for what you believe in. Sometimes you got to tell people in your life, I can't be with that bullshit. And you find that peer pressure, even in the program, can be very strong. I have found that as I walk this path, even though it starts out as a broad path, it gets narrower over time because less things become okay. It gets narrower over time because there's less people around over time. Because the proof is in the pudding. Who's still here? And sobriety means something. And as somebody who's been here for a long time and is still here and is still sober, I can tell you that life will get so much better and it'll get so balanced and there's no chaos. We've all got this propensity inside us to take back charge and start taking credit. What somebody who's an old-timer has to make sure that they continue to tell themselves is, I need to continue to give God the credit even after my life is back on track. Because see, I've got my license back long ago. All the charges have been gone long ago. She started talking to me again long ago. All the things that came in that were fucked up when I got here have been fixed. And that's why somebody like me that tells a newcomer, hey, what brought you here is probably not going to be what keeps you here. Because what brought me here was threats, reprisals. I don't want that shit. Well, that stuff is fixed now. What keeps me here is the good things I get from the program. And it must change at some point along the line, along the continuum. And what I have found is that God continues to help me do, feel, and believe that which I could not do on my own strength unaided. And I see things clearer than when I got here. And I got to remain teachable. We may never graduate, but we don't stay in kindergarten either. So I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I still don't know anything, because nobody would believe it within the sound of my voice. Either that or I'm the greatest actor on the face of the earth. Either that or I believe what I'm saying. You can choose. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps in our past.